Hi, and welcome to this week's Fundamentals of Yoga video focusing all about triangle pose. So, this is a full length sequence, and if you are unfamiliar with triangle pose or just want to get back to the basics and learn more about alignment, check out my video under my Fundamentals of Yoga playlist entitled Triangle Pose Breakdown, and that'll help you learn a little bit more about your alignment and just check in with yourself to make sure that you're doing things correctly. So let's get started and start seated at the center of your mat. Go ahead and just take a seat. You can cross one leg in front of the other. It doesn't matter which. We'll just get started here by grounding. Take a moment to check in with ourselves. Maybe close the eyes and rest the palms on the tops of the knees. Begin to center inward, focusing on the breath. Use your breath today on the inhales and the exhales as you flow between our poses. Visualize the breath, making space on every inhale, and relax and deepen on every exhale. Sit tall here, grounding through the sit bones. Feel them connected to your mat as it roots down into the earth, tall through the crown of the head. We'll start with some gentle half neck circles. So drop the right ear towards the right shoulder and slowly allow the chin to drop down. As you roll your neck down through center, and then start to move towards the left shoulder, left ear to the left shoulder. And then reverse the direction. As you come back down through center, feel free to pause in any spot that maybe feels like it needs a little extra love today. On the exhale, coming down through center. And on the inhale, coming up to the next side. We'll take one or two more neck rolls. I could probably do this all day. On the next one, pause as you come through center. And then lift your head back up to neutral. From here, we'll just take a few shoulder rolls. Rolling your shoulders up and back, down along the back. And reverse the direction. Very good. Come to stillness. We'll take a few side body leans. We'll just warm up the side body. As with triangle pose, we are opening up the side body quite a bit. So go ahead and take the right hand, set it down onto the mat. Lift the left arm up into the sky on the inhale. Start to bend a little bit into that right elbow as you lean towards the right. The left hip is glued towards the mat, and the ribs are rolling open and upward as you open along the left side ribs. Inhale here, and on the exhale, let's come back through neutral, and we'll take the same thing on the left side. Left hand down towards the left side, right arm up and into the air as it goes alongside the right ear. Left elbow bends. Maybe you stay a little bit higher. Just come to where you feel a nice stretch along that right side. Let's inhale, come back up through neutral. We'll do that once more on each side. Over to the left. Nice inhale in and opening. Exhale back through center. And last time on the left side. and return back to center. Very good. Let's roll through our tabletop. And from tabletop, we'll tuck the toes and sit back. Spread the feet out a little bit wider. Sink the hips down until you come into your Malasana Squat. So this is pretty early on into the practice. If you'd like to have a block underneath the hips, just to be a little bit higher, you certainly can. Toes are turned out and they're a little bit greater than hip width apart. Allow your hips to sink down and the tailbone up through the crown of the head is nice and long. Take an inhale here. On the next exhale, plant the hands into the mat. Push the tailbone up to the sky as you forward fold. Allow the head to hang. On an inhale, return to your yogi squat. Chest lifted. Exhale, we'll do that again. Coming into the forward fold. You can leave the toes out or turn them in slightly if that feels better. And then inhale back to our yogi squat. Exhale, pushing up, lifting the hips, dropping the head, bringing the chest towards the thighs, creating a compression into your forward fold. And then inhale, yogi squat. Really good. We'll pause here just for a moment. Maybe wiggle it out. You can shift the hips from side to side, coming up onto the toes, or maybe even just staying on the toes if that's more comfortable in your squat. Wherever you're at is a great place to be. Coming to stillness if you can. On the next exhale, push your hips up to the sky, forward fold, and then take the hands towards the hips. Bend the knees slightly, tuck the tailbone, and slowly roll up to standing. Here we are in our mountain pose. You're probably towards the back or middle of your mat. Go ahead and take a step all the way up towards the front edge of the mat. In your mountain pose, inhale the hands up to the sky. Interlace the fingers. Flip the palms so that they're facing your ceiling or the sky. From here, we'll take some more side bends. So the feet are about hip width apart. The knees have just a slight micro bend in them. Take an inhale and lean towards your right. As you lean towards the right, you kick that left hip over to the left a little bit and open up the side ribs. Inhale back to center. And on the next exhale, we'll take that over to the left as we kick the hips over towards the right. Spinning those ribs up and open towards the sky. Gaze can be upwards or it can be neutral and looking in front of you, whatever is easiest on the neck. Return back to center. We'll do that one more time on each side, leaning towards the right. Expanding through the side of the ribs. Grounding down through the feet. Returning back to neutral. And again, once more to the left. And back to center. Your arms might be getting a little tired from holding them above you. We're going to just take a couple of circles, moving our torso. We're going to start bending over towards the right. And as we reach our limit on the right side, we'll start to round and curve our torso in front of us. And then bring it on over towards the left. As we come to the left, we'll be side bending until we're in a nice side bend on the left side, and then return back to neutral. Let's take that in the opposite direction, starting towards the left side. Fold forward, allowing the chest to come forward, the hands to drop down, and now bend towards the right. One more in each direction. Use your breath. Exhale as you go downward. Inhale as you rise up. Last one. Very good. Let's exhale those hands down through heart center. Maybe shake the arms out a little bit, bend the knees. You can shift the weight from the left to the right side. We'll start with a sun salutation. Inhale the hands up. Exhale them down through heart center. On the next inhale, we'll shift the hips back. Arms come alongside the ears as we come into our chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway's lift. On the next exhale, we plant the hands to the mat and step the feet back. We can lower the knees to the earth as we shift the elbows and shift the weight forward. Inhale to your Cobra Pose. Feet spread wide, elbows are bent. Exhale, tuck the feet, tuck the toes, and push back into your downward facing dog. Inhale the right foot up to the sky, draw it in between the hands as you come into a warrior one pose on the right side. On the next exhale, we'll drop the hands to the mat, step back, bend the elbows, full chaturanga if you'd like to keep the knees lifted, upward dog or cobra, whatever you're comfortable with. Push back into your downward facing dog. And from here, lift that left foot into the sky. Draw it in between the hands. Spin the right toes out. Inhale to your warrior one on the left side. Lower the hands to the mat. We'll take a vinyasa. Step that left foot back. Bend the elbows. Draw the navel in. Inhale, upward facing dog or cobra. Exhale to your downward facing dog. On the next inhale, step up. Halfway's lift, fold forward, and then inhale, return to your chair pose. Exhale, push up towards mountain. Draw the hands down through your heart center. Very good. Inhale the arms up to the sky. Exhale, folding forward, all the way down. Inhale, halfway's lift. Hands can come to the shins or the mat. Exhale, plant the hands, step back into your plank. Now chaturanga lower. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, lift the hips, tailbone to the sky to your downward facing dog. From downward dog, you can step or jump to the top of the mat and lower down. Inhale, halfway's up. We'll lower down once more. And then lift the hands up to your mountain pose. Draw them down through heart center. Pause here. One more sun salutation and we'll start our flow. Inhale the hands up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway's lift, hands to the shins or fingertips to the mat. Lower the hands down, step it back, plank. Bend the elbows, come into your chaturanga and lift up to your upward facing dog. From here, we'll come into our downward facing dog and pause. Take a moment. Catch your breath if you need to. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose and release it through the mouth. On the next inhale, lift the right toes up to the sky. Bend that right knee, draw it in as you round the back and make space for your foot to come in between the hands. You're in your low lunge on your right side. In low lunge, the back leg is active, your chest is lifted, and your gaze is forward. From your low lunge, plant the left palm to the mat and wind your chest open towards the right. Fingertips reaching for the sky, active arm. And from here, exhale, lower the right hand back to the outside of the right foot, and you're back in your runner's lunge. From runner's lunge, Press firmly into that right foot as you lift the torso, lift the chest. Arms come alongside the ears for your high lunge. Pause and find your footing. The back heel is lifted. The tailbone is slightly tucked. The front knee is over the front ankle. On the next inhale, we'll turn those left toes out. Find your comfort level here. Move the toes in the direction that you need them so that they track with the knee and you don't feel any extra bending on that back knee. Lower into warrior two. Bend or lower deeply into the hips in your open left hip. From warrior two, flip that right front palm. Inhale, reverse your warrior. On an exhale, we come to our extended side angle pose. Leave the right forearm on the right thigh. Push that right knee out. Don't allow it to fall inward. From our extended side angle pose, we're going to transition into triangle. I suggest taking that back foot in about 2 inches, as the stance for triangle is a little shorter than it is in warrior two. So step that back foot in. Straighten that right front knee and start to lower down the torso directly over the right leg. If you have a block, you may want to block here so that you aren't struggling to reach the ground. We're looking for length in the side body on underneath the right side and along the left side. So in triangle, we're not just bending from the waist. Right here, we're bending from the hips and keeping length throughout our underside of the ribs as we are in the top. From your triangle pose, go ahead and bend that front knee once more. Maybe push the back toes out again. Lift up, come into your warrior two pose. From warrior two, windmill the hands down along either side of that right foot. Step the right foot back. You're in plank, and we'll chaturanga lower. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, push back into your downward dog. From downward dog, lift that left foot into the sky. Bend the knee, round the upper back. Push and make space for that foot to come in between the hands. You're in your runner's lunge now on the left side, lifting the chest, activating that back leg, pushing that back heel behind you. From runner's lunge, let's plant that right palm towards the mat. Inhale, spin the chest over to the left, making space as you inhale to rotate around the thoracic spine and lift the fingertips to the sky. On the next exhale, unwind. Bring the left hand back towards the mat. You're back in your runner's lunge. From runner's lunge, let's press firmly into that left foot to lift the chest, lift the torso, and come into our high lunge on the left side. Arms alongside the ears, shoulders are dropping down the back. On the next inhale, open up to your warrior two on the left side. Turning the right toes out, sinking into the hips. Feeling that left knee push outward. Don't allow it to fall in. From warrior two, flip that front palm. Inhale, reverse warrior. The back palm comes maybe to the back of the calf or the thigh. And exhale, extended side angle. Left forearm to the left thigh. And the right arm extends along the side of the face. From your extended side angle, maybe shift that back foot in about 1 or 2 inches. And then start to straighten that left front leg. The right arm extends straight up to the sky, and we lower the torso over that left front leg, extending long, pushing into the outer edge of the right foot, pushing into the inner arch of the left foot, feeling the energy as we extend through all points of the body, each fingertip, each toe. Really activating the core here. If your hand is alongside the shin, press your hand into the shin, but do not hold on to the knee. On the next inhale, bend that left knee. Maybe step that foot back out 2 more inches and lower back into your warrior 2. On the next inhale, windmill the arms on either side of the left foot. Step that left foot back. You're in plank. Bend the elbows, lower down. Chaturanga. Return to your upward facing dog. And then push back into your downward dog. In downward dog, inhale the right foot to the sky. Exhale, draw it through. And in between the hands. Again, we're back in this runner's lunge pose. From runner's lunge, push up until you're in high lunge. Pausing here. On the next inhale, turn out those left toes, open up the arms, sink down into warrior 2. Get comfortable in warrior 2. We'll hold this for a breath. Allow the shoulders to drop down. From here, take that back foot in about 2 inches. Start to straighten that right front leg, and we'll bend from the hips. Torso comes over the right leg, lowering down into our triangle pose. Another opportunity to feel your alignment in triangle. If you'd like to make a challenge, you could take your left hand and go for the bind. Come to the inside of the right thigh. Or if you'd like to make it really spicy, you can extend both hands out and in front of you. This is a really extra, super duper core challenge. So draw the navel in, hold it. On the next breath, if you had the arms extended, return to your triangle pose. From triangle, let's bend that right front knee. We'll gaze out about 18 inches in front of you. You can use the left hand for balance, bend into the right knee, push into the right foot, and we'll come into our, or try to come into our half moon pose on the right side. I've got my block right here. I think I might use it. So half moon pose, hand on the block or maybe fingertips to the floor. Hips should be stacked directly on top of each other. Left arm lifted to the sky as the foot is flexed and you're pushing out through that left heel. Very good. From here, bend that right knee. We'll step the left foot back out. Use your arm for balance. And we'll straighten the right front knee again and come back into triangle. Notice the difference in the hips here. It's almost impossible to have the hips stacked in your triangle pose. You will have the left hip just a little bit forward. But we're looking for that length in the side body. From here, inhale. We'll bring that left hand or fingertips to the mat or the block if you have it in front of you. The left toes can turn more towards the top of the mat. So now we're in a long pyramid pose, pushing the right hip back. The left hip comes forward as the hips stay in line mostly. And then lowering down just to where you feel a stretch along the back of the hamstring, the right calf. From here, we can rest that left hand onto the mat, spin the chest open, and take a revolve triangle as we lift the right fingertips to the sky. The hips stay in the same neutral position. Take one more inhale. Exhale, the right hand comes back to the outside of that right foot. We'll bend the knee, step it back, and you're back in your plank and vinyasa. If you'd like to skip the vinyasa and just take a quick child's pose or push your way back into downward dog, we can all meet here. Take a nice breath in your downward dog. On the next inhale, we'll do that on the left. Lift the left foot up into the sky. Bend the knee. Draw it up and in between the hands. Runner's lunge on the left. From runner's lunge, press into that left foot. Rise up until you're in your high lunge or Ashtachandrasana. Tucking the tailbone. Stretching the front of the right hip flexor. From high lunge, inhale, spin the right toes out as you pivot and make room for the hips to sink down. Preparing for our triangle pose, let's straighten that right or the left front leg. Maybe bring the right foot in slightly. Bend from the hips and bring the torso over the top of the left leg. Gaze up towards the sky if that's comfortable. If not, you can still have your neck neutral and just gaze out in front of you. If you'd like to take a challenge on the left side, again, you could take the bind. It does feel good if your arms are getting tired from holding them up. Or if you want to challenge your core, this is harder for me on this side, you can take the arms out long and hold it for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Very good. Let's return back to our triangle. If you had a challenge going on there from triangle, let's take that right hand down, give it a little break, bend into the left foot or the left knee and push into the left foot, gaze out about 18 inches in front of you, and we'll step up and come into our half moon on the left side. Lifting that back foot up, keeping the leg in line with the right hip stacking as much as you can onto the left. Opening the right shoulder on top of the left so that we're in one nice flat plane along this side. Very good. We'll bend that knee, drop the right foot down, so that we're positioned to come back into our triangle pose on the left side. From here, swing that right hand down, bring it to the outside of the left foot, turn the right toes back to face the top of the mat, and we'll lower down for our long pyramid pose here on the left side. Only come to where you start to feel a stretch on that left hamstring. This is a pretty intense pose, so you don't need to come down very far at all. And from here, the hips stay neutral with the right hip pushing forward, the left hip pulling back. Maybe grab a block. It can make the triangle poses, both revolved and your normal triangle, much more accessible. Turn so that your left arm is towards the sky and you're twisting along the upper portion of your spine. On the next exhale, we'll bring that left hand down, move the block out of the way, step the left foot back into plank, take a vinyasa or child's pose. Inhale, upward facing dog. Eventually, we'll all meet here in our downward facing dog. One nice inhale in, feeling the chest expand. Distributing the weight evenly from front to back, pushing to the inside of the palms to protect the wrists. Very good. From here, inhale the right foot up to the sky. Hold your three-legged dog. Start to bend the knee round as you start to shift forward. Take the knee to the nose. The shoulders are over the wrists. And from here, we're going to roll into our Vashisthasana on the left side. So you can keep the right knee bent and take tree pose on the left side, or you could stack the feet if you'd like. Just lift into those ribs, staying strong. Continue to bring that left foot back behind you. We'll come into wild thing. Press into the ball of the left foot, lift the hips. Really activate into the back body here and reach, drop the head. From wild thing, we'll return to plank, lift that right foot up and over, and you're in your plank pose. From plank, we'll cross the right foot underneath the left. So now we're in kind of a crisscross plank. And then start to lift the left hand. Now we're balancing on the right. Lift the hips up, left arm straight up to the sky for the fallen triangle pose. Again, just like we were in wild thing, actively push into the feet, lift into the hips. On the next exhale, we're just going to lower the hips straight back to the mat. So now we're in kind of this straddle position on the mat. Your feet don't need to be out very wide. Just spread out a little bit here, however is comfortable. And we'll take just a little bit of a forward fold in our straddle. Just slightly, trying to keep the back as straight as you can. So as soon as you start to feel any rounding, come back up. On the next inhale, let's come to upright, and we'll take a side bend starting with the left. So the left forearm can come to the mat along the inside of the left leg. Draw the right arm over and above the head. Again, we don't need to come down very low, only to where you feel comfortable. You don't need to grab your toe or anything like that. Just inhale and open up along the right side ribs. On the next inhale, let's come back through center. We'll do the same thing on the right side. So you can take that right forearm to the inside of the right leg. Inhale the left arm up and overhead. Spiral the chest so that the chest is seeing sunlight. We don't want to be falling forward like this. We want to make this an active side bend, so that means we need to open up the chest. On the next inhale, come back to upright. We'll take the right hand out and behind the right hip, almost to where you would have it in your plank. And again, we'll push into that right hand, lift the hips, lift the left arm to the sky. You're back in your fallen triangle pose. From here, take the left hand to the mat, just like you were in your twisted plank, and bring that left foot back. You're back in your plank pose. From plank, let's push it back into downward dog. Very good. Inhale the left foot up into the sky. From here, let's bend the knee, and we'll start to round as we shift forward into a plank pose. Keep the knee bent. Start to rotate onto that right foot as you come into side plank on the right side. Ooh, I am a little wobbly on this side, but that's okay. If you fall out of it, just come right back in. Holding it here in a tree variation, or just stacking the feet. And then from here, we'll take the left foot, drop it behind us. Hopefully I have some room. Lift the hips, come into wild thing. Press into the ball of the left foot. Nice back bend here. And from wild thing, start to lift that left foot. Bring it up and over as we come back into our plank. From plank, let's cross that left foot over and underneath the right. We'll spiral the chest up and lift the right arm to the sky for fallen triangle on the left side. Start to lower the hips to the mat. I've got one foot under the couch, so I'm going to move a little bit. And now we're in a straddle position here on facing the back left corner of the mat. So again, sitting tall. Take an inhale, and on the exhale, let's just start to lean forward just a little bit. On the next inhale, come upright, and instead of doing a side body bend, this time we're going to turn the torso so that we are facing directly at our right leg. Take the hands on either side and just start to fold yourself over the top of that right leg. Feel the back of the right leg pressing firmly into the mat. Really activate through the back line of the body here. And the foot is flexed. On the next inhale, use the hands and push yourself up to neutral. Turn to face the left leg, and we'll take that stretch on the left side. Come down only to where you start to feel the stretch. The right hip is still grounded into the mat, so we're not fully falling over the left leg. We're grounded, pushing into the mat through the back of that left leg. On the next inhale, we can walk ourselves back to upright. Take the left hand, put it behind the left hip, press firmly into the palm of the left hand. Make some room here for myself. Lift the hips up to the sky and come into your fallen triangle pose. Feel the energy as you go from fingertips all the way down to your hand that is rooted into the mat. Spin that right palm over and bring it into where you would have it for plank pose. We're now in a twisted plank. Lift that left foot up and draw it back to your normal plank pose. On an exhale, push into your downward facing dog. Inhale that right foot up into the sky, and then draw that knee in, the left ankle behind the left wrist, bending that right front knee. You're in pigeon pose. The back leg is extended long. Maybe you walk it out a little further behind you if you need to make space. You can stay upright here or start to fold forward. Taking a moment here in your pigeon pose. Just a couple more breaths. And we'll start to wind down. On the next inhale, we'll push into the mat, lift our torso upright. Plant the hands down into the mat as you tuck the back toes. Push the other foot back, and we'll just push back into a downward dog. From downward dog, we'll just bend the left knee and draw that left ankle behind the right hand. Bending the left knee to whatever is comfortable, either keeping the left ankle in tight or maybe opening up the leg a little bit. Wherever your hips can take you right now, if they don't want to be working as hard, keep that left ankle in closer to the center line of the body. And then either lower down to your forearms or maybe forehead all the way to the back of the hands. On the next inhale, lift up. Push yourself upright. We'll go ahead and swing that back leg around and bring it in front of you. And from here, take the soles of the feet together. And take your Baddha Konasana or butterfly pose. I like to clasp my fingers and to bring them underneath my toes as I widen the knees out, pressing into the knees, keeping the spine nice and tall. And from here, I start to lower down. I prefer to keep the back as straight as possible, so I'm not rounding and slumping forward. I might do that in something like a yin class, but here I'm going to keep it a little more active, really working into the hips, trying to get a little more for little bit more out of the pose. And make it a little more active by keeping it straight from the crown to the tailbone. Breathe deeply here. On the next inhale, come up. Let's extend that left leg long. Keep the right knee in and towards the body. Inhale the left arm up to the sky. The right hand goes back behind the right hip. And on the exhale, you can go ahead and either just take a grasp of the outside of the right knee, or you can go for the bent elbow and maybe take it to the outside of the right knee as you exhale and twist. Whatever works for you today. On the next inhale, lengthen, and on the next exhale, maybe twist a little deeper. Finally, on the next inhale, we'll unwind and take that on the other side, extending the right leg and drawing the left knee in. Left hand to the outside of the left hip. Inhale the right arm up, and on the exhale, either taking a grasp of the left knee or bending the elbow and bringing it to the inside or the outside of the left knee for the twist. On the next inhale, unravel. From here, just take the soles of the feet to the mat. Adjust yourself if you need to. Slowly start to roll down onto your back. Nice and slowly. Even activating the core on the way to our Savasana. Release all the way down. The feet can spread out wide. Arms are out beside you, just making space. Taking up space on this earth, on this mat. And we'll start to return back to the breath, slowing it down. Maybe making the breath a little more shallow. Pausing here to notice how we feel. And take your attention to the side body. We did a lot of side bends and some active strengthening through the side body, especially in the triangle pose. And if you took any of the challenges in triangle by extending both of the arms out long, that definitely is harder work for the core and the sides. Most of our movement in day to day is either bending, it's mostly bending forward, really, bending forward at our desk, bending over to pick things up. We don't back bend very often, and A lot of times we don't side bend either. It's not quite as natural. Often you may find yourselves more prone to injury when you take movements that you're not accustomed to. So as you side bend more and you practice more using triangle pose in your practice, do practice with caution and continue to use blocks and focus on your alignment and foundations before you push yourself too far. And for every step that you're at along the way, congratulate yourself because you took the time to be here and to get where you are. We'll take another minute or so in Savasana. Whenever you're ready, start to wiggle the toes. Start to bend into the fingers. Maybe make a fist and clench your fist. Start to tighten the toes. Release it out. Draw the knees in. You can either take a roll up to seat or roll gently onto your side. And we'll all return to a seated position on our mat when you're ready. And that's it. That's our triangle practice for today. A little love for a posture that I think is usually thought of as a beginner posture, but it actually can be really difficult. It requires a lot of strength through the core, through the side body, through lengthening through the legs, and sometimes we just don't have it in us. I know a lot of times I do not like to touch the mat when I'm in my triangle pose. It's just too far, and I am sacrificing the length that ultimately should be our goal just to reach the mat. So remember, take those options whenever you need them because it really is better for you in the long run. And thanks again for doing this practice with me. If you liked it, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I'll have more practices every week. Take care. Bye.